and he just came up there to see what we were doing, and he immediately like made eye contact with me, and he started to watch me play. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is, like, what is he doing here? Like, I was like super nervous, like, like, just look at your chart and play. Welcome back, guys, to The Creative Quest, and today we are continuing the story of why I make music. And this is the second episode where I've just been kind of diving into the background story of what had got me into music and why I'm continuing to pursue music as not only a career but as a craft and a passion, and why I want to share it with people. And so let's get started. And I played this little 3-chord song for my like King's Kids group or whatever, and I remember that feeling of like playing in front of people, and I loved it. I was like, this is so fun, like I want to play in front of more people. I want to do this again. You know what I mean? And so I just kind of got that performance bug when I did that. And so fast forward to 5th grade, I continued to play guitar. Obviously, I would sit in my room with my boombox and listen to CDs, and I would try to figure out what they were playing. I continued to sing in church. I continued to sing in, I went to a private school, so I sang in like all the school like plays and productions. They would have like a kids choir. I would always sing in the kids choir. I had a few solos that I would do. So continuing to play and sing. And then 5th grade came along. I was now in public school, no longer in private school. And in 5th grade, they had a talent show, and I played. My brother had taught me something that he had made up on the guitar, and I kind of ran with that and like added to it and wrote my own part like with it. And so I played that kind of song that my brother and I wrote together for the talent show at the school that I was going to in 5th grade. And that was like the big talent show, like in the auditorium in front of like, you know, the whole school. And it was like the coolest thing ever. Like people clapped and people were screaming. My PE teacher was like, yeah, and it was just great. I like did the whole cheesy like slide on your knees and like, you know, and it was great. And it was invigorating. Like it was like, oh my gosh, I want to perform so bad. So, and then I had this like sense of like pride in a way, because I felt really cool because I was the only person in the school that played guitar. And I was like the only girl that could do something like this, and it was like really neat. So then I performed in every single talent show in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, all the way through like into high school, playing at talent shows for my school. And I just would either write a song or learn a song. I learned a lot of like guitar instrumentals from like my favorite rock bands that I was listening to as a kid. And so it was always just me and my guitar and like a multi-effects pedal, and I would just play, you know, these really cool like guitar songs instrumentally, and for the whole school. And so I built up this kind of like reputation and identity around being able to play guitar, and I was the only like girl that could play guitar, and so it was like this kind of like special talent that I had that no one else in my school had, and no one else in my class or community at the time could really do like I did. And so and then, you know, as I got into like junior high and high school, I started to go to again, I'm still a church kid at this point, and I'm going to these like summer camps, and they have talent shows, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna play my guitar. And so it was, I believe, 8th grade, the summer right before my freshman year of high school, when I played a song that I had written, actually. How I started writing songs, by the way, a sure way. If someone is destined to be an artist, the sure way to trigger them into songwriting is a heartbreak. That's exactly what happened. My 7th grade boyfriend like broke up with me in front of the whole school, and it was like a really like the like for a middle schooler, a 7th grade, like middle school girl, that's a really traumatic experience to have a boy break up with you in front of the whole school and everyone's watching you. Like, it was the worst thing. So that happened, and that kind of sent me into an emotional spiral, and the only thing that helped me was music and was playing my guitar. So I would sit in my room for hours and I would play guitar, and I just started to write out my emotions. Like, I just started to write out my emotions on paper and sing them to these different like chord progressions I was coming up with. And it was during that time that I figured out how to transpose music, because I had all of these like worship charts. I had all of these like chord charts that I would play for like youth group, like church band stuff, and my worship leader always had to change the key because she sang so high, and so I just figured out the math, like just sitting there with the chord charts, and figured out how to transpose, and then started using some of those progressions to write my own songs. And so I'm like pouring my guts out as a 7th grader, brokenhearted, and started writing songs. So then in 8th grade, I started this habit of writing songs, and I had a bunch of songs written by the time I was like in 8th grade coming into high school, and I decided to play one of these songs for the church camp talent show. And I had a very similar experience where it was like my best friend was in the front row and she knew every single word and she's singing it at the top of her lungs. People stand up, they're catching on to the melody of the song and they start to sing with me. People start to clap, and it was like, oh my gosh, something's happening. Like, and then I also like had almost kind of like a spiritual experience in a way, because I was feeling invigorated with the adrenaline, but I also felt this kind of mystical like presence interacting with me while I was like doing this. And I remember like stepping off the stage after performing this song, and at the time, being at a church camp, I labeled it as God speaking to me. But I think anyone who's not religious can relate to, you hear a voice inside your head and you have this gut feeling when you just kind of know something. And that's the experience I had, where I like heard this voice inside my head say, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. And I was like, what? And it was just like this defining moment of just knowing that what I just did was what I was put on earth to do. And it had been a build-up ever since I was 7 years old, playing that little song in front of my King's Kids group at church. And so I was like, okay, I need to know what to do from here. So, long story short, I went to a camp counselor and told her, my experience, and she's like, oh, well, you should try to get on the youth worship team. That's a great place to start. So I got on the church worship team and I started playing in the church band on Wednesday nights. And I remember one of the rehearsals that we had, the worship leader at the church, who was a Japanese guy who was like a virtuoso on the guitar, like legit, like one of the best guitar players I have ever met in my life. Like, he's just so good. And he just came up there to see what we were doing, and he immediately like made eye contact with me, and he started to watch me play. And I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Like, what is he doing here? Like, I was like super nervous. Like, like, just look at your chart and play. But I looked at his face and he just kind of zoned in on me, and he was like, yeah, okay. And he was like jamming out to what I was doing. And I was like, am I impressing this guy? Like, I have no idea. I had no idea who he was. I'd never seen him play guitar in my life. And later, like, I was like blown away that he would even give me the time of day with how good of a player he was. But he kind of latched on to me, and he recognized that I had a lot of talent and potential. So he kind of took me under his wing and started, teaching me more about guitar and kind of mentoring me as a guitar player. And I got better, and I started to actually lead the church worship band. At the time, I had kind of put singing aside for a little while. And so the, church worship leader, or the the youth worship leader was like, "You're gonna lead this song today," and she like shoved the mic in front of my face and like made me lead the band with this song vocally as well as on guitar. So before I knew it, I was leading a band at 13 years old. All right, so that concludes the second episode of this little mini-series, Why I Make Music. And if you're enjoying this so far, just kind of learning more about me personally and my background and like how I got into music, and if you're enjoying the story here, you're going to want to subscribe and ring the bell so that you can be notified when the next episode comes out, all about why I make music. So thanks again, guys, so much for watching, and I'm very excited again to be sharing this story and sharing my music with you, and I'm very excited to connect with you on a personal level and have some FaceTime with you guys. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll be back next time right here on The Creative Quest.